Number 3. The deadly fire at the Wirekang restaurant. In Taichung in 1995, there was a Western-style restaurant called Wirekang. With its elegant exterior and brightly lit sign, it was a popular gathering place for families and couples alike. No one could have imagined that such a seemingly respectable, lively, and dazzling venue would, on an ordinary night, rapidly collapse into a living hell that devoured human lives. On the evening of February 15th, at around 7:20 p.m., the restaurant should have been at its busiest. Downstairs, the bar and kitchen were filled with the aroma of sizzling oil, while upstairs, private dining rooms echoed with laughter and singing. Everything felt like just another normal night. But near the bar, a ruptured gas pipeline began leaking silently, allowing gas to accumulate rapidly in the air. The moment it was ignited, flames erupted almost explosively, instantly engulfing the wooden interior, decorative panels, and bar structure, then roaring up the only staircase straight to the second floor. The building itself was already a disaster waiting to happen. The rear of the restaurant had been illegally expanded into KTV rooms, blocking areas that should have served as fire access routes. On the second floor, emergency exits were either sealed shut or obstructed by clutter, rendering escape routes useless long before the fire ever began. Once the blaze erupted, nearly all customers were forced to rely on the main staircase connecting the first and second floors, precisely where the fire spread first. Within seconds, the entire building turned into a chimney. Thick smoke flooded the upstairs rooms at terrifying speed, reducing visibility to the point where people could not even see their own fingers. The situation worsened when, amid the chaos, restaurant staff mistakenly reported to the fire commander that all customers had already escaped. As a result, firefighters did not immediately break windows to attack the fire, nor did they deploy ladder trucks to rescue those trapped on the second floor. By the time firefighters realized something was wrong and forced their way inside, intense heat and toxic smoke had already rendered many victims unconscious. The fire claimed 64 lives and injured 11 others, making it one of the deadliest commercial building fires in Taiwan's history. Investigators later concluded that the immediate cause was a ruptured gas line. But what truly killed people was the long-term accumulation of illegal construction and negligence. Escape exits sealed by unauthorized additions, fire doors not installed according to regulations, blocked fire access routes, highly flammable interior materials, and management's complete disregard for fire safety. The Wirekang company had a registered capital of nearly 3 million new Taiwan dollars, yet the human cost, the destruction of families and lives, far exceeded any financial figure. At the time, many restaurants, KTVs, and dance halls across Taiwan suffered from similar illegal layouts and fire safety violations. Wirekang was simply the most lethal example. Under intense public pressure, the government was forced to overhaul fire safety regulations, increase inspections of public venues, strengthen gas safety requirements, and crack down on illegal constructions and blocked escape routes. The Wirekang fire became a major turning point in Taiwan's public safety reforms, with impacts that continue to this day. Number 2. The Xindian West Bridge train fire. On May 28, 1948, a local passenger train, train number 29, traveling from Wanhua to Banqiao, caught fire shortly after entering Xindian West Bridge. The blaze suddenly erupted in the 9th third-class carriage. No one expected that an ordinary short journey would transform, within minutes, into a disaster too horrific to bear. The fire began at the rear of the carriage. Thick smoke quickly filled the narrow space, while wooden interiors and oil-treated seats acted as perfect fuel. Panicked passengers screamed and pushed. Some tried to break windows, while others rushed toward the back of the carriage, only to find the flames already blocking their escape. The bridge was narrow, with no platform or open ground. Beneath their feet lay the Xindian River. In desperation, some passengers jumped into the water in an attempt to survive, while others were trapped between raging flames and suffocating smoke, with almost no escape routes left. Ticket Inspector Chun Dongsheng became one of the most crucial figures that day. Amid the chaos, he quickly pulled the emergency brake, bringing the train to a halt. Had he not done so, the fire might have spread to even more carriages. The driver then attempted to restart the train to pull the unburned carriages away. However, the emergency braking locked the braking system, preventing the couplings from separating smoothly. By the time the fire spread to the 8th carriage, Railway staff struggled in extreme heat and smoke, eventually managing to detach the first 7 carriages. These were hauled to Banqiao Station, while the remaining 4 third class, second class, and baggage cars were left isolated on the bridge and ultimately burned into twisted scrap metal. Investigations later suggested that the fire likely originated from dangerous items illegally carried by passengers, such as camphor powder, gasoline, or other flammable substances. In post-war Taiwan, shortages were severe, and people often carried chemicals, fuels, or miscellaneous goods onto trains. Once ignited, such materials allowed fires to spread rapidly inside enclosed carriages, especially at a location as inaccessible as the middle of Xindian West Bridge. Fire engines could not reach the scene, and passengers had nowhere to flee. The bridge's structure and height meant the disaster was almost impossible to control from the very beginning. According to official statistics, the accident killed 21 people, left 40 seriously injured, and 36 with minor injuries. An additional 51 passengers were reported missing, 43 of whom were presumed dead. The fire also destroyed 19 pieces of luggage, 38 parcels, 118 railroad ties, and completely destroyed 4 carriages, resulting in massive losses. In response, the government and Taiwan Railways formed a temporary relief committee to provide compensation and assistance. Families of the deceased received 350,000 new Taiwan dollars. Those permanently disabled received 250,000, and seriously injured passengers received full medical coverage plus additional compensation. While these sums may seem modest today, they represented a heavy financial burden at the time and marked Taiwan's first large-scale, institutionalized response to a transportation disaster. Yet the deepest scars were not financial. Survivors recalled trembling whenever they remembered the sea of flames. Some were never able to ride a train again. Charred personal belongings recovered from the river became haunting symbols passed down through local memory for years. Following the accident, the government of Korea enforced strict bans on carrying hazardous materials aboard trains, introduced more rigorous inspection systems, and encouraged the public to report violations. Number 1. In the 20th century, Taiwan once relied heavily on coal mining. These mines powered industry and sustained countless families, but deep within the dark, damp tunnels, danger was always lurking. In the summer of 1984, a catastrophic fire at the Maishan coal mine claimed 103 lives in an instant, marking the beginning of the industry's end. On July 10, 1984, at around 12:40 p.m., a dull explosion echoed from the mine's compressed air machine room in Ruifang. Falling rocks struck a 220-volt power line, snapping it and producing a powerful electrical arc that ignited accumulated lubricants and oil residue. Flames climbed the wooden supports and surged along walls coated with grease, rapidly driving temperatures upward in the confined space. Tragically, the machine room should never have been built inside the mine. It was installed deep underground to cut costs, sealing off miners' escape routes once the fire erupted. Smoke spread through the ventilation system, carrying lethal carbon monoxide deep into the tunnels. At the time, around 123 miners were underground, some working, others preparing to leave, unaware that death was closing in. Worse still, ventilation fans had long been poorly maintained, and gas detection systems were already inadequate. Once the fire broke out, everything collapsed. Within minutes, smoke filled most of the tunnels. Miners had no time to react and collapsed one after another in the darkness. Carbon monoxide, colorless and odorless, proved to be the deadliest killer, claiming lives without warning. Rescue teams above ground faced overwhelming obstacles: raging fire, dense smoke, temperatures too high to endure, tunnels hundreds of meters deep, and a complex layout. They could only advance inch by inch, clearing smoke layer by layer, but every second lost meant another life slipping away. Although the fire was eventually extinguished, smoke lingered for a long time. Most miners had no chance of escape. The final toll stood at 103 dead and 22 injured, making it the deadliest single mining disaster in post-war Taiwan. Even more heartbreaking, records show that half of the 22 survivors suffered severe carbon monoxide poisoning and were left in vegetative states for life. Death was a number, but survival was not always a blessing. The Maishan fire was not an isolated tragedy. In the same year, Taiwan experienced a grim succession of mining disasters. 74 deaths in the Haishan mine explosion, 93 in the Haishan No. 1 shaft collapse, and 103 at Maishan. In a single year, nearly 276 miners lost their lives. It was not just a series of accidents. It was the death sentence of an entire industry. The government subsequently introduced new coal policies, accelerating mine closures and the industry's withdrawal. Taiwan's coal mining sector steadily vanished, reaching its complete end by the year 2000. That concludes today's video. Among the 10 deadliest fires in Taiwan's history, which one left the deepest impression on you? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.